Part 1. Duality. Everything in our life is dual, has two polarities. If you have never heard of the term duality, don't be concerned. I can assure you that you face this phenomenon on a daily basis, but are likely to refer to it by different names. Duality means two polarities which are dependent on each other, but do not change their own structure. Let me give you a simple example. Take a look at a coin. You will see that both sides retain their own structure, but at the same time they can't exist without each other. Everything in this world has its opposite, and our thinking is no exception. Moreover, it's only with the help of our dual nature of thinking that we get a sense of direction in life. Whatever it is we do, making a choice, giving a description or a comparison to something, we base it on our own perception of duality. Look around and you'll see an abundance of dual pairs. It is human nature to divide everything into pairs of opposites, good and bad, far and near, pleasant and unpleasant. The list is endless. We do it a lot in our speech too. It is black and white, the lesser of the two evils, a blessing in disguise, etc. Such idioms have a dual nature. Remember the oath sworn at the marriage ceremony? We vow to have and to hold, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. Are you able to see dual pairs? Now try to think of dual pairs of your own and write them down. This method is based upon working with duality of our thinking, with pairs of opposites that make up our thinking process. All dual pairs encountered in life can be divided into three groups. Internal pairs. Their presence will always be manifested through emotions and sometimes internal discomfort. Worry, fear, sadness, etc. They include obsessions, phobias and addictions. For example, to smoke or not to smoke, to be afraid or not to be afraid, to be or not to be, etc. External pairs. Such dual pairs get manifested through the items of the material world, wealth and poverty, abundance and destruction, fame and obscurity, etc. Neutral pairs. Such pairs enter our thoughts without attracting much attention. They capture our minds for a short period of time. Cold and hot, far and close, etc. Nicotine addiction relates to dual pairs of the first group. Internal pairs. Despite the fact that all dual pairs of the group are similar in nature, each of them requires an individual approach. This is why the practices that I am about to share with you apply only to nicotine addiction and may not be successful if used with other pairs. Life constantly shows us that everything in it has its opposite. Opening the door to something new, we let in not one but two parts of a dual pair. This is the law of duality. Letting smoking into your life, you open the door for both components of the dual pair, a pleasure of smoking and the hatred towards it. Day by day, the habit grows stronger and the dislike of it starts to emerge. Once we take a dual pair too close to the heart, it firmly imprints in our consciousness. A mental program formed of negative and positive thoughts regarding smoking has been launched. To transform a dual pair into a mental program, one needs to show constant engagement with it. Otherwise, it will become neutral and it won't take an active part in one's life. The mind of each and every one of us runs a number of mental programs through the prism of which we can view our lives. They stick to us for different reasons, from different situations and people. But what you have to understand clearly is that they are there only because we take an interest and engage with them. Each of our mental programs runs in a perpetual motion and constantly changes its sides. Take a look at lovers. Today they are completely infatuated by one another. Tomorrow the infatuation will all of a sudden fade and they begin fighting. Once the time has passed, they can't live without each other again. The behaviour pattern keeps alternating, for it is only by turning sides that the mental program exists in our minds. One moment you are in a great mood and love the world. The next, out of the blue, comes sadness and melancholy. Unfortunately, people tend to see only one side of the dual program, the side that they are on at the moment. This is due to the fact that either side of the program is strong enough to fully capture our attention, which makes us completely forget its opposite side. When we are on cloud 9 with joy and happiness, we forget about ever feeling down. When the program has turned sides and we feel sad and unhappy, we won't remember how happy we were half an hour ago. Understanding the principles by which mental programs work within us will help you not only to give up smoking, but also to make your life much easier. That is why I will ask you to take some time and try to understand these principles as much as possible. Let's imagine that one evening after a long day at work, you come home and you need to relax. Having decided to run a bath, you head to the bathroom. While waiting for the bath to fill, you go to the kitchen to make herbal tea and see a sink full of dishes with no soap to wash them. Not thinking twice, you grab the keys and run out to the corner shop to get it. Upon returning home, you realise that you have forgotten to turn off the tap. Will it ever occur to you to blame the water for turning your apartment into a swimming pool? Or perhaps you will start blaming it for the lack of respect towards your household. Sounds silly, doesn't it? The fact is that the water did not realise that it did so much damage to your property. You can't blame water because it doesn't have its own consciousness and self-realisation. As a result of that, the water doesn't know about its own existence. It was you who did not remember to turn it off. The water itself had no intention to cause you trouble with neighbours. Should you realise that you left the tap running for even a little too long, you will immediately rush to turn it off. Now you need to learn how to do the same thing with the thoughts related to cigarettes. You have a great advantage over the addictions you may have, and you are the one responsible for their mental programs. And mental programs entirely depend on us, in the same way the running water depends on you. You are able to see what is happening and have the power to stop nurturing and strengthening the program within you. A mental program is unable to stand up for itself because, as we said, it's not conscious of its own existence. You give it validity and it exists entirely at your expense. This means that as soon as you stop supporting it, it will be deprived of its substance and therefore dissolved. I hope you are beginning to understand how useless it may be to fight an addiction to smoking. In essence, you are fighting something that lives purely in our mind and depends fully on nothing else but you. Thus, the way to get rid of an addiction to smoking is to dissolve a mental program responsible for it.